Welcome to ReReview, where we watch movies from our past with a perspective from today. Your hosts are Matt, Bobby, and Austin, and we love the films from our youth, so we're taking a look back to see if they still hold up. On this episode, we're discussing Galaxy Quest. It was released in 1999, directed by Dean Purcell, starring Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, and Alan Rickman. This movie challenges you to think about life imitating art. Now, this is a fair warning. We're spoiling a 24-year-old film, so if you haven't seen it, we will be revealing key plot points. What a movie, right? Like, I feel like this is one of those films that you can't help but leave it feeling good inside, because it hits all the nerd notes that you might want to have suppressed deep down in you, but it really tickles all those fancies of kind of wanting to be the convention nerd kid who was obsessed with so many things in your youth that you're going, how could you not love all these things? I.e., this being built off of the Star Trek love that people have, but it really hits all those notes in a way that even today we're in a society where everything's so nostalgia driven, and this so ties to the idea of what does it mean to celebrate the things in your from your past, but more importantly for the people who are still having to ride the coattails or live that journey of something that they did 20 years ago, 30 years ago. What does it mean to be in that space where you're almost supposed to be on demand, recognized for something that you did a long time ago that you may not even care about anymore? The movie opens up and we get introduced to this crew of the Galaxy Quest who are essentially everything we know about Star Trek, just a little bit off in their own little way, but you love it immediately because it is that cheesy sci-fi show that I think we all watched growing up. And I don't know, it's one of these things where it just makes me want to go watch bad sci-fi TV over and over again. Probably this movie.
I mean, I can see where it's coming from. I mean, for sure, it very much plays into a lot of the themes. It's funny because watching, the convention moments that play out, I just instantly think about going to like WonderCon and Comic-Con and a whole bunch of other conventions and walking through the autograph area. And you see the Lou Ferrignos and the people who are like, well, they had this moment in pop culture and they're just kind of living off that moment, and you see them, signing autographs and stuff for the rest of their life based off it. And like me personally, like I would be fine with that. Like, they always talk about like the Superman curse and stuff where, people don't want to be branded as Superman or Batman for the rest of their lives. Like if you cast me as Batman, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'll be Batman for the rest of my life. I don't care. And I feel
what's the alternative to like have a long career and no one remembers you for anything? I mean, I think it's flattery that people love what these people did. I think that's how I see it.
I think there's probably some actors who prefer to be, very much chameleon-like in their roles. Mm-hmm. You very much, and you see that with Alan Rickman's character, right? Like, I think more so than the rest of them, I think he's the one who wanted to move past it. Mm-hmm. And what was he was dwelling on like his stage time.
Mm-hmm. And he was a theater performer.
Yeah. And so like, and I'm sure he probably enjoyed the paychecks at the time, and I'm sure it's probably still paying the bills. And I'm sure it's just like the Star Trek characters, like the royalties probably pay for their houses. Cause what was it? Tim Allen's character, man, he had a nice place in the hills, man.
Yes, he did.
Like those royalties were paying nice.
That Alan Rickman character totally reminds me of Alec Guinness, who was in Bridge Over the River Kwai and like Lawrence of Arabia, but like most people are going to remember him as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I think he doesn't like that.
But it's so frustrating because
you're right.
Like I feel bad for him, and like I feel especially bad for because I know that this is probably somebody read the biography or stories about Spock, right? Live long and prosper or whatever, and so they very much probably We're like, man, like how annoying would it have to be to go to these conventions and to just be done with it? And let's just ball all that up into Alexander Dane.
No, it completely is, because you're right. There's an element of saying, yes, I would totally want that life, until maybe it is, they're going to cons on every weekend just to get that paycheck, because it probably isn't coming from anywhere else except for ideally the revenue money from the show being in syndication, right? I don't even is syndication even possible in this day and age? Does it work the same way now?
Well, I think that the streaming residuals are a lot less than TV residuals. So that's a bummer for actors.
Yeah, so they're trying to live their best life by signing autographs and being absolutely miserable. And I think we could talk about, the people who are in this film. So we have Tim Allen playing the call him what, a pompous ass. He thinks everything is about him, as Jason Nesmith. It's interesting, the idea of you have an actor who takes the role in his show as the commander maybe a little bit too literal, to the point of not actually caring about the other actors that he was working with. And it just builds through, I guess, everyone having their own little growth process, right? That's the only thing. Everyone has their moment to kind of show, this is who we were. How are we going to be better than that? But tell me how you felt about Tim Allen.
I thought he did an excellent job. I mean, I thought he was really good, and he was really believable as like a guy who's just kind of like been through it. And unlike Alan Rickman, this guy was just in it for the celebrity, and he just wanted to be back in the spotlight again, regardless of what it was, I think. So I thought he did a really good job, and he was really believable. I mean, part of what really like sold it for me was like him wearing the sunglasses throughout like the entire, like he's in space inside of a spaceship, and he's like still wearing the sunglasses. He's got like his own like, oh, if I take these sunglasses off, the brightness is going to hurt my head because I'm still hungover from like 3 days
He's
ago.
so hungover. But he's also so disconnected, right?
Yeah, no, I mean he did a great job of just like, I totally could like picture that kind of actor, that kind of guy.
What does it mean to have Sigourney Weaver? Do you think that was a first choice?
Oh no, you have to in a sci-fi role like that. You have to have Sigourney Weaver. I'm sure it's entirely possible they might have been like, if we can't get her, it's not even worth doing at that point.
Yeah, isn't it kind of amazing? I mean, she's completely awesome, just having to play this role of, I repeat what the computer says. Just brutal.
I love how she buys into that, and she's like, that's my job and I'm going to do it. I have nothing else to do, so this is it. Like, I'm doing it. And no, she was so good. And I mean, like, if you're going to have one woman, it needs to be like one that stands out, one that's strong. I mean, ideally they would have more, like in an ideal world. Sigourney would be a good one.
It better be Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, taking on any role in space, I think, is sort of that big deal of, I that's why I'm like, was it first pick? But it makes sense to me, Matt. The idea is, would this movie even happen if she didn't actually take on this role? They probably paid her well. I hope so. The great Alan Rickman, R.I.P. But really,
tears.
Playing that Spock type character as Alexander Dane, and just the level of watching him go from like, I hate everything about this, but I need that paycheck, to, wow, I really hate this. What are we doing on the ship? To the eventual, like, okay, maybe we can actually get through this and learn. That's just the play between him and Tim, especially with the I'm so sick and tired of your BS, and I'm tired of participating in this. But he can't give up his passion. He hears the show must go on, and that is enough to trigger him to be like, all right, I'm gonna do it. But I hate everything about it.
I love the fact that he always has the headpiece on. You only see a little piece of his hair towards the end of it.
Right. When it started getting totally thrashed and beat up.
But even with it on, like the cheesiness of the prosthetic, like how badly, you could tell it's just glued on. It's not like it's the way we see things today, or not as good as how we saw the character Saris, because I actually really liked how the bad guy appears. It was very Ninja Turtles for me. I don't know if it was for you.
Well, with him,
It was a
it was
giant.
it was animatronic, right? Like it was.
Yeah.
I think Jim Henson Studios did that, if I remember correctly.
I mean, I thought it was a pretty good suit. I mean, it was clearly a suit, but I mean, I don't think there was. I mean, the other option is what, makeup or a puppet. I think they did a pretty good job of it.
I love the way he looked, both before the accident and then after. The way the shoulder blades kind of move on their own, even though it's basically all like a football outfit.
Yeah, I like how when he got pissed off, like it kind of like flared out behind him like
Mm-hmm.
a raging peacock or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tony Shalhoub, I'm only mentioning because Men in Black, right?
Jeeps.
Isn't that where we saw him?
Yeah.
Oh, the Monk, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Monk.
yes, Monk.
Monk.
Yes.
That's
I'll admit, I have not watched Monk.
what.
I know.
Yeah,
What?
he plays like a very like OCD detective, and he kind of has the same like mumbling personality that he does in this. Like maybe it's even like a little bit more so in this, where he's kind of a bit awkward and like.
Well, the Fred Kwan character is interesting that it was a bit of that awkwardness, especially, I guess, there's who you see in the initial clip in the show, but who we really get on the ship is someone who kind of really assumes the role by just trusting the Thermians right away.
Oh, he was on board with the entire thing from beginning to end. He was the only one who like went through the whole. I don't think they called it actual transporter, the transport pads. He's the only one who came out of it was like, wow, that was something. Everyone else is like shivering and terrified. He's like, wow.
He's like, that was worth doing. Let's do it again.
I love how what's his name just screamed. That was such a funny reaction.
Oh, Sam Rockwell. Oh,
Sam Rockwell. He was so good.
He was so good in this movie. Like he became like, I feel like there was the scream and there was the when they first land on the alien planet. And he's just like, is there air? Can you breathe? You don't know.
Right.
He's asking all the right questions.
He's literally like the logic throughout this entire movie. He's like, if you had like a third party fan watching the thing that was going on and then allowed him to speak during that, that's pretty much what Sam Rockwell's guy Fleegman was. So no, he was great. I mean, the entire cast was great. I mean, like Mathazar was great. Like you know, all the aliens were amazing. Even Justin Long was really good. I mean, he kind of, you know, I think this kind of was his first role, wasn't it? His first theatrical role.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
What a great intro.
Wow.
He was great.
Like between this and the Apple commercials, I think he kind of had like the nerd the nerd box ticked for all of his roles.
We'll just give a shout out to everyone because yes, Mathasar was amazing. Daryl Mitchell playing Tommy Weber. Thank you for flying the ship and not crashing it entirely. It was a slight and easy gag, but it was still entertaining to watch as everyone's leaning as if they could control what was happening on the ship.
And they had like the rake sound scraping. And
the rake sound was so good. Yes. Because the entire time I'm like, you know, this would destroy your ship, right? I think that's the thing I never understood about any sort of space battle. These things are so intricate and detailed. They make it feel like losing a panel should be okay. And I'm like, no, I feel like that would destroy your ship.
Right.
In full, in entirety. Let's talk about the Thermians. That introduction, the way Mathazar speaks, everything about them, I just loved them from the get-go.
Yeah. I mean, what's really interesting to me about them is that it was neat how they introduced them as the fans, like as cosplay fans, because they had this real like vibe that was similar to that about them. Like they were kind of awkward and they had
very, very like geek nerd cosplay.
They had this very
just
like
the extreme stereotype.
Yeah, they had this like upright way of walking and of being, and like it was just very like deliberate, and it was really funny when their communicators didn't work or they completely like freaked everybody out because their actual shape is like some horrifying octopus theropod kind of thing.
Their human forms, they get from the limousine scene to, you know, just the way they approach everything. And there was also that element with Enrico doing Mathasar of just love behind the character. So gentle and sweet about everything because they were honest. I love the whole bit of them just learning what deceit was because they weren't a species that dealt in deceit. It's like, what in the world?
No, like so really the emotional heart of this movie was through those Thermians. And like it really hit me when Tim Allen would like tell off the guy, and or Alan Rickman would shove him aside, just like they did a really, really great job of just pulling emotional heart of this movie from those Thermians.
So how do you like this idea that they're, and it plays off of something we know, right? We've been broadcasting into the space forever. What if there is another civilization that's watching our old TV shows and they truly believe it is historical records?
Well, that's pretty horrifying because we've been broadcasting pretty awful stuff. Like, isn't there oh, it was like it was the Seth MacFarlane show where like some alien species, like they're watching the Kardashians and it's like in a museum or whatever. It's just awful to think of.
Yeah, you know what? Thanks you for reminding me. I'd love it if it was like Star Trek, but yes, if we're just sending out only the Real Housewives, that type of television, the human race is lost.
Well, that was like the gag. It was like you don't think that Gilligan's Island was real, did you? And they're like, oh, those poor people.
That's such a good part. Oh, love Gilligan's Island. Yeah, no, it's such a great setup because they're hyper smart. Look at how they built everything. And I love the idea that their specifications was just, we watch what you did on the show. So like, here you go, Tommy, you know how to fly the ship, right? Because it works just like the video that we saw on the show. It's so fantastic.
And I like how they pull information out of them by like just asking them leading questions, and they're like, oh yes, 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 and then they figure everything out for themselves. And it actually, that turns out to be a really clever payoff where they give Mathazar the lead because they're all great.
As we look at it, we kind of are enjoying everything that was the characters. And if we talk a bit about the story, again, the setup, they watch these historical records. They somehow believe they could save them from this danger that they're in from Ceres and this other alien species that wants to wipe them out. As they kind of go through all the steps, it was the part that felt so much like those sci-fi TV shows of old, where we got our little, cheesy visit to, well, first they get through a minefield that just happens to conveniently be in space. Cool. The ship somehow survives it, but doesn't. But of course, the thing they need is on a planet. And I'm a sucker for like, let's go visit this foreign alien planet to figure out or go find the thing that we need. And we get such a good spot with, like you mentioned, with Guy Fleegman being the voice of reason. You talk about them opening the door and him being concerned with the air, but I loved even more so when he's telling Gwen to like calm down on loving those little alien baby creatures because they're going to turn evil and there's going to be a lot of them. He's just telling us what's going to happen. But he goes with like, have you not watched the show? To all of them. Like, right. What are you doing here? Don't you understand how this is going to work? And that just feels so good.
I think that sequence was an interesting sequence in the first place. Very much because it was like what you would see in Star Trek. The little bottle episodes where they'd go down to a different world and explore or find the thing. I do think that it was very, I could forgive a lot of the stuff that, the Thermians designed based off of the show. But the fact that there was a beryllium sphere that actually existed on an alien planet was a little bit far-fetched, I think.
Wasn't it just, it looked like one big pile of dung, right?
Yeah, they even admitted, like, oh no, like in reality, that thing was just made out of like, styrofoam and chicken wire. It was just kind of thrown together. But it gave them an adventure to go for, I suppose.
and it was fun. I mean, eventually having the rock monster, having the beam me up Scotty scene with the threat of turning into mush, and I absolutely loved the way when they did the I don't know, what is that creature, some kind of pig thing, and it comes in and it is just inside out and it looks disgusting, and I love the work they did on that because it looks so visceral and so gross, to say the least.
It was hard to imagine as a PG movie, right?
Yeah.
But then it explodes, and then they're like, "It's inside out," and it exploded.
Yeah, and that's why we're laughing, because then Tim Allen's on the other end going, "What'd you say? Did you just say it exploded?" And you get this great moment with Gwen holding the communicator, and there's just a chunk of meat falling right off the side of it. And it's just, you're going, yep, we're going to die here, folks. He's not going to make it off the planet. I'm a sucker for a rock monster. That's the other thing with these type of things. I played enough video games. The whole thing is just, it was a fetch quest. I'm okay with it. I love it.
Wait, so you like the rock monster, but we have to ask, was there an Earth in here that you liked?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I felt there was some spots where you could tell it was green screen, but I feel like the CGI and the work they did was great. I thought the ships looked fantastic. The alien ship looked great. The way they approached, the stuff with the mines and everything. I really liked the graphics work. I'll say the CGI that they did.
I think the ships, for sure, they probably made them actual models like they did in the TV show.
Then that's probably why I loved them.
Yeah,
I was fooled.
I think they looked great.
I think
because I was definitely convinced we were getting CGI.
Yeah, I mean, you did.
I think maybe some of the mines were CGI because there's just so many of them, like easier to replicate, I think. But
you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
that is why the ships look so good. And why I was going like, wow, this is fantastic. It looks better than a lot of stuff that's done today. But when you get to the ship flying in over going to crash into the Hollywood Palladium, that point was very, very much a CG ship. But I was already in at that point. I couldn't care.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that and the Omega 13 device.
Oh yes,
when that
was fine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, I think that's where this CG kind of showed its age a little bit, because this was 99, right? This is, this is kind of a weird year when you think about it, because there's this, which is not a big movie by any means. I mean, it has lots of great stars in it, but it's not really, it's kind of a below the radar movie. Same year we're getting The Matrix. We're also getting Phantom Menace.
Right.
Like, there's so many things that are coming out this year. Right. And like, you get to that scene, I feel like it's forgivable considering the idea behind what it is. But I feel like that's where the CG are like, oh, okay, yeah, like that's pretty CG up there.
It's like a very flat image at the end of the day. It's missing I don't remember all the terms. I should probably know, some kind of occlusion or something. But I still will take it because I started living in that world. I mean, so we're at the end of the scene. We're getting to the end of the movie, but how fun was it for them to have Gwen call out the design of them having the chomp room where they can get smashed up, that they have to walk through it. It goes, who writes the shit?
And the timer that always ends at 1. It's pretty clever.
I mean, it's both poking fun, but it's just so much love at the same time that it's fantastic.
That's what really like makes me appreciate it, because you could tell that whoever made this like really loved that culture and the idea of like the conventions and the cheesy sci-fi movies. You could tell that there's a lot of heart and a lot of love behind it, and it's not just making fun of it to be mean.
And I think that's whenever you see these kind of properties, you can tell when they're fans of something, that they're able to, like, it's almost to the point where like, it's with like Seth MacFarlane, right? Like, you almost want to see it as a real show. Like, it's so well done that you kind of want to see what they could do with something like that. Like, really. So
I wonder if someone pitched it at some point. Well, no, because again, is this also like, how did it do at the box office?
Not well.
You named some heavy hitters for 99, so I can't imagine this was easy to compete against.
I don't know where this got released, like time wise, but I know opening weekend because it was the end of the year. I think it was like Christmas. This was like a Christmas movie. I think opening weekend it made 7 million. I think, and that's 99 money. But I think that I think it broke even realistically from a financial point of view. It broke even because I think the budget was 45, and I think worldwide it made 90. So it literally broke even. So,
but this would be considered cult.
Oh yeah, for sure. This definitely falls in
Unreal.
that category.
But this is one of the rare things where I think this isn't like a lot of other things where I'm like, oh, I would love to see sequels. I would love to see TV shows. I'd love to see more of this. I think for me, this is one of those rare things where it exists perfectly as it is. And I'm not sure that more of it would add to it. I think it would just be like more of the same kind of thing.
I mean, it is nice to find a property that makes you feel that way because we are so pushed now to watch things and expect that there's going to be more coming until Netflix cancels you.
Yeah, I mean they could do a sequel, but like I think it's not really needed. I think this just stands up on its own.
And they tease us with it, right? As the finisher.
I don't.
The
I
idea
mean,
that the show must
could you
go
make
on.
a sequel where it was a commentary on the remake type stuff where like they actually like they do it but even that's kind of been done, I suppose, the commentary on remakes. So, but they could if they wanted to.
Right.
Well, I'll be the first to say it. This is a little bit of a love fest. I don't know that we've ever gone in so lovingly for a film, but oh goodness gracious, Bobby.
No, I mean,
are you telling the people to watch this?
It's deserved. I mean, I think it's really clever. It's got a lot of heart. There's like an emotional beat to it. I mean, there's a lot of layers to this movie when on the surface it doesn't look like it has all that. But I mean, I enjoyed this and I could watch it time and time again, and I think others should as well. Shame on you
Watch
for
it
not
now,
watching it in
folks.
the theater.
Just the anger towards the people who lived in 1999. How dare you not watch this in the
What on
theaters,
earth were you
Matt?
doing with your time that was not
We're
going to
probably
watch
watching
this?
The Matrix,
You
man.
messed
It was celebrating Christmas. It was on Christmas Day.
No, you're not living your life properly, people. Come on, get with it.
Matt,
Oh no, it's you need to watch it. If you haven't watched it, it's something you should watch. Even I feel like even if you're like, Gen Z or anything like that, where like, I think that you're able to appreciate where this movie is coming from no matter what time period. I think that it's something you could probably watch with like the whole, grandfather, father, like the entire like, family generationally speaking. You can watch it. I think even more so if you're a nerd, it helps. But I think that even non-nerds can enjoy where it's coming from, and just the cast, the acting, the pacing, the music, the everything. I think makes it into an enjoyable all-around movie.
sweeping recommendations all around. Yes, without question, this is one of those films that I think we don't get enough of because so many things want to pull at your heartstrings in different ways or try to really get you to feel probably more than you need to. And this just hits good beats. It flows fantastically from one section to the next in terms of how it presents the story to you. Everyone's acting is great, and you really just you laugh. You may cry, depends how much you buy in, but you'll definitely laugh and you'll enjoy everything that they do to just kind of let you live in this sci-fi world that is Galaxy Quest. As always, thank you for listening, and by Grabthar's hammer, what a savings.